Alrighty, let's go ahead and get your Esperanza Rising textbook. Remember, you need that as we read. I'm going to read out loud while you read quietly to yourself. Take a look at our Know and Wonder chart real quick. The last time we read that Senor Rodriguez came and he brought the papayas. He didn't know that he had passed away, that he was dead. And some of the wonderings we still have is, what are they going to do with the land? Why were they going to see the priest, Esperanza's mom? And we're still wondering about, will Esperanza have a birthday? Let's go ahead and go back in the text. The rosaries, masses, and funeral lasted 3 days. People whom Esperanza had never seen before came to the ranch to pay their respects. They brought enough food to feed 10 families every day, and so many flowers that the overwhelming fragrance gave them all headaches, and Hortensia finally put the bouquets outside. Marisol came with Senor and Senora Rodriguez several times. In front of the adults, Esperanza modeled Mama's refined manners, accepting Marisol's condolences. But as soon as they could, the two girls excused themselves and went to Esperanza's room, where they sat on her bed, held hands, and wept as one. The house was full of visitors and their polite murmurings during the day. Mamma was cordial and attentive to everyone, as if entertaining them gave her a purpose. At night, though the house emptied, the rooms seemed too big without Papa's voice to fill them, and the echoes of their footsteps deepened their sadness. Abuelita sat by Mamma's bed every night and stroked her head until she slept. Then she would come around to the other side to do the same for Esperanza. But soon after, Esperanza often woke to Mamma's soft crying, or Mamma woke to hers, and then they held each other without letting go until morning. Esperanza avoided opening her birthday gifts. Every time she looked at the package, Every time she looked at the packages, they reminded her of the happy fiesta she was supposed to have. One morning, Mamma finally insisted, saying Papa would have wanted it. Abuelita handed Esperanza each gift, and Esperanza methodically opened them and laid them back down on the table. A white purse for Sundays with rosary inside from Marisol, a rope of blue beads from Chita, the book Don Quixote from Abuelita, a beautiful embroidered dress or scarf from Mamma for Sunday. Finally, she opened the box she knew was the doll. She couldn't help thinking that it was the last thing Papa would ever give her. Hands trembling, she lifted the lid and looked inside the box. The doll wore a fine white petite dress and a white lace mantilla over her black hair. Her porcelain face looked wistfully at Esperanza with enormous eyes. "Oh, she looks like an angel," said Abuelita, taking her handkerchief from her sleeve and blotting her eyes. Mamma said nothing, but reached out and touched the doll's face. Esperanza couldn't talk. Her heart felt so big and hurt, so much that it crowded out her voice. She hugged the doll to her chest and walked out of the room, leaving all the other gifts behind. Tia Louise and Tio Marco came every day and went into Papa's study to take care of the family business. At first they stayed only a few hours, but soon they became La Calabaza, the squash plant in Alfonso's garden, whose giant leaves spread out, encroaching upon anything smaller. The uncles eventually stayed each night until dark, taking all their meals at the ranch as well. Esperanza could tell that Mamma was uneasy with their constant presence. My wondering here is, why are they there? What are they doing at the ranch? Finally, the lawyer came to settle the estate. Mamma, Esperanza, and Abuelita sat properly in their black dresses as the uncles walked into the study. A little too loudly, Tia Louise said, "Ramona, grieving does not suit you. I hope you will not wear black all year." Oof. Mamma did not answer, but maintained her composure. They nodded to Abuelita, but, as usual, said nothing to Esperanza. The talk began about bank loans and investments. It all seemed so complicated to Esperanza, and her mind wandered. She had not been in this room since Papa died. She looked around at Papa's desk and Papa's books, Mamma's basket of crocheting with the silver crochet hooks that Papa had bought her in Guadalajara, the table near the door that held Papa's rose clippers, and beyond the double doors, his garden. Her uncles her oh, there she is. Her uncle's papers were strewn across the desk. Papa never kept his desk that way. Tia Louise sat in Papa's chair as if it were his own, and then Esperanza noticed the belt buckle. Papa's belt buckle on Tia Louise's belt. Why is he wearing his belt buckle? It was wrong. Everything was wrong. Tia Louise could not be sitting in Papa's chair. He could not be wearing Papa's belt buckle and the brand of the branch on it. For the thousandth time she wiped the tears that slipped down her face, but this time they were angry tears. A look of indignation passed between Mama and Abuelita. Were they feeling the same? Ramona, said the lawyer, your husband Sixto Ortega left his house and all his contents to you and your daughter. You will also receive the yearly income from the grapes. As you know, it is not customary to leave land to women, and since Luis was the banker on the loan, Sixto left the land to him. Which makes things rather awkward, said Tia Louise. I am the bank president and would like to live accordingly. Now that I own this beautiful land, I would like to purchase the house from you for this amount. He handed Mama a piece of paper. Mama looked at it and said, this is our home. My husband meant for us to live here in the house. It is worth 20 times as much. So no, I will not sell. Besides, where would we live? Why does he want to buy the house? He wants to live on the land, right? So why is he doing this to her right after her husband died? I predicted you would say no, Ramona, said Tia Louise, and I have a solution to your living arrangements. A proposal, actually, one a marriage. Who is he talking about? Thought Esperanza. Who would marry him? He cleared his throat. Of course, we would wait the appropriate amount of time out of respect for my brother. 1 year is customary, is it not? Even you can see that your beauty and reputation and my proper position at the bank would be a very powerful couple. Did you know that I, too, have been thinking of entering politics? I'm going to campaign for governor, and what woman would not want to be the governor's wife? Esperanza could not believe what she heard. Mama marry Tia Louise? Marry a goat? She looked wide-eyed at him, then at Mama. Mama's face looked as if it were in terrible pain. She stood up and spoke slowly and deliberately. I have no desire to marry you, Louise, now or ever. Frankly, your offer offends me. Tia Louise's face hardened like a rock, and the muscles twitched in his neck. You will regret your decision, Ramona. You must keep in mind that this house and those grapes are on my property. I can make things difficult for you, very difficult. I will let you sleep on the decision, for it is more than generous. Tia Louise and Tio Marco put on their hats and left. The lawyer looked uncomfortable and began gathering documents. Vultures, said Abuelita. Can he do this? asked Mama. Yes, said the lawyer, technically, he is now your landlord. But he could build another house, bigger and more pretentious, anywhere on the property, said Mama. Is it not the house that he wants? It is your influence he wants. People in this territory love to seek stone and respect you. With you as his wife, Louis could win any election. Mama stiffened. She looked at the lawyer and said, please officially relay this marriage to Louis. I will never ever change my mind. I will do that, Ramona. But be careful, he is a devious, dangerous man. The lawyer left and Mama collapsed into a chair, put her head in her hands, began to cry. Esperanza ran to her. Don't cry, Mama. Everything will be all right. But she didn't sound convincing even to herself, because all she could think about was what Tia Louise had said, and Mama would regret her decision. That evening Hortensia and Alfonso sat with Mama and Abuelita discussing the problem. Esperanza paced and Miguel quietly looked on. Will the income from the grapes be enough to support the house and the servants? Said Mama. Maybe, said Alfonso. Then I will stay in my home, said Mama. Do you have any other money? asked Alfonso. I have money in the bank, announced Abuelita, and then more quietly she added, Luis's bank. He would prevent you from taking it out. If we need help, we could borrow money from our friends, from Señor Rodriguez, said Esperanza. Your uncles are very powerful and corrupt. They can make things difficult for anyone who tries to help you. Remember, they are the banker and the mayor. The conversation continued to go in circles. Esperanza finally excused herself. She walked out to Papa's garden and sat on the stone bench. Many of the roses had dropped their petals, leaving the stem and the rosehip, the green grape-like fruit of the rose. Abuelita said the rosehip contained the memories of the roses, and that when you drank tea made from it, you took it all the beauty in the plant had known. These roses have known Papa, she thought. She would ask Hortensia to make rosehip tea tomorrow. Miguel found her in the garden and sat beside her. Since Papa died, he had been polite, but still had not talked to her. Anza, he said, using her child name. Which rose is yours? In recent years, his voice had become a deep throttle. She hadn't realized how much she missed hearing it. The sound brought tears to her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. She pointed to the miniature pink blooms with delicate stems that climbed up the trellises. "And where's mine?" asked Miguel, nudging her like he did when they were younger and told each other everything. Esperanza smiled and pointed to the orange sunburst next to it. They had been young children the day Papa had planted one for each of them. "What does it all mean, Miguel?" "There are rumors in town that Luis intends to take over the ranch, one way or another. Now that it seems true, we will probably leave for the United States to work." Esperanza shook her head as if to say no. She could not imagine living without Hortensia, Alfonso, and Miguel. "My father and I have lost faith in our country. We were born servants here, and no matter how hard we work, we will always be servants. Your father was a good man. He gave us a small piece of land and a cabin. But your uncles, you know their reputation. They would take it all away and treat us like animals. We will not work for them. The work is hard in the United States, but at least we have a chance to be more than servants." "But Mama and Abuelita, we need you." My father says we won't leave until it is necessary." He reached over and took her hand. "I'm sorry about your papa." His touch was warm and Esperanza's heart skipped. She looked at her hand in his and felt the color rushing to her face. Surprised at her own blush, she pulled away from him. She stood and stared at the roses. An awkward silence built a wall between them. She glanced quickly at him. He was still looking at her with eyes full of hurt. Before Miguel left her there, he said softly, "You were right, Esperanza. In Mexico, we stand on different sides of the river." And there's the river again. Esperanza went to her room thinking that nothing seemed right. She walked slowly around her bed, running her hand over the finely carved posts. She counted the dolls lined up on her dresser, 13, one for each birthday. When Papa was alive, everything was in order, like the dolls lined up in a row. She put on a long couture gown with hand-sewn lace, picked up the new doll, and walked to the open window. Looking out over the valley, she wondered where she would go if she had to live somewhere else. They had no other family except Abuelita's sisters, and they were nuns in a convent. "I won't ever leave here," she whispered. A sudden breeze carried a familiar pungent smell. She looked down into the courtyard and saw the wooden box still sitting on the patio. It held the papayas from Señor Rodriguez, the ones that Papa had ordered. They should have been served on her birthday. Their overripe sweetness now pervaded the air, each with each breath of wind. She crawled into bed beneath the linens edged with lace. Hugging the doll, she tried to sleep, but her thoughts kept returning to Tio Luis. She felt sick at the thought of Mamma marrying him. Of course she had told him no. She took a deep breath, still smelling the papayas and Papa's sweet intentions. Why did Papa have to die? Why did he leave me and Mamma? She closed her eyes tight and did what she tried to do each night. She tried to fight the dream, the one where Papa was singing the birthday song. Alrighty, as we pause to go towards our no wonder chart, we added that the funeral lasted 3 days. Tia Luis and Tio Marco were coming to the North Ranch every day, and Esperanza didn't want to open her gifts, but she did, and she held Papa's doll close. In Mexico, Mama didn't own the land, so Papa left it to his brothers. Remember, as readers, we revise our learning. So these are things that we are reading, and then these are our questions over here on this side. So one of the questions we had was, Esperanza have a party still? We know that answer now. Why were they going to see the priest? Well, we kind of know this answer now, right? We know that they were going to see the priest to prepare for the funeral. Are they going to have a funeral? What are they going to do with the land? So the questions we still have is, why did he ask Mama to marry him? What are they going to do now that the uncles own the land? And is Esperanza and her mom going to move to the U.S. also? We also read that Tia Luis was wearing Papa's buckle and he asked Mama to marry him and Mama said no. And that Miguel and his father are going to move to the U.S. because they don't want to work for the brothers. Alrighty, we're going to return to our chapter and structure chart and that overall structure. And we just read Las Papayas, and we know that we're in rising action still. Tio Marcos and Tio Luis are taking over the ranch, and they want to buy the house for Mama and marry her. She said no, so this means that something is going to change even more. We're wondering where they will go. Will they move to the U.S. with Miguel and his father? So we're going to take this understanding and this new reading, and we're going to complete our assignment for lesson